Good morning, dear children. How are you all? Hope you are in the pink of health. We are already today in the second day of April, and I suppose it is the ninth day of the lockdown. I tell you, this is the biggest lockdown in the world, as 1.3 billion people are covered under this. We should all comply to this. We all are doing our duties by being at home, and I hope you people are also playing your duties by being at home. Stay safe, stay home, and enjoy your learning. So today we are on the part 4 of chapter poverty. Before I begin with this fourth part, I just want to tell you, please use your extra marks module for this chapter. I have seen this. It is really good. You will get a better understanding of all the things which we have covered, as it contains a lot of interesting pictures related to the topics which we have studied in the chapter. It covers a lot other more statistics also. Please go through. I hope you all have downloaded Extra Marks app in your mobile, and if anybody does not have that code, please let me know in the comment section. Extra Marks has made their modules free for us. We can have an access to them for just for free, maybe only till 30th April. So make the best use of those modules for a better understanding. Also, as you know, I'm tracking your attendance in the file, in the Excel file which I've made. So make sure you are marking yourself present. Don't just tell me, ma'am, we have seen the video but we have not marked ourselves present. Just do that if you're asked to do so, because all these classes are taking place officially, so you are officially marked present here. We had also conducted that talk session. It was regarding the feedback I wanted from you to have. If there is any scope for improvement, you please let me know. Not all of you were online, I could see. Also, many of you did not choose to speak at all. Please participate whenever such talk sessions are held. It is all meant for us together to participate actively. I hope you all are making your notes well in time. Just write in a very beautiful handwriting. Give the headings with black pen, underline them. Your IED register should look very organized, as these are the notes you can refer to in exam time also, for a quick glimpse of the chapter. Also, can you please let me know how many of you do not have this Indian Economic Development book with you? Any edition, whether it is old edition or new edition, it is very much okay, but please let me know if you don't have any edition at all. In the comment section, you can please let me know the number of students who are not having any book with them. Indian Eco I'm talking about right now, so that if many of you don't have, I can click the pictures of all the pages from this chapter and send a PDF in the group, so that you can refer to that file anytime you want in these days. Obviously later you will be arranging the book only. Also, please keep your learning on simultaneously. As soon as the chapter is half over, you can prepare the chapter. You can just learn it all thoroughly. Indian eco development, let me tell you, the topics do look very basic, very common, but when it comes to attempting it in writing, when it comes to writing all these questions, students are out of words, because it really needs good vocabulary to explain your questions, because it is less of concept and more of understanding about the scenario of your own country. So students usually go out of words for this section in writing their answers. So please learn good answers, prepare your chapter well. You have enough time to prepare the chapter. Let us begin with today's session, causes of poverty, and what government has been doing. In fact, since we got independent, what government has been doing, what was the approach of the government towards removal of poverty. Okay, first cause we have already covered in the last class, that's population explosion. That when this even despite having the huge income, in the world. We are on the sixth rank, but because of the huge population, our per capita income number is very low. So that is one of the reasons of India's poverty, that India's population is too much. So obviously, more the people, more the wants for resources, more the need of to extract natural resources. So there is too much pressure on the natural resources of the country, too much pressure on the land, too much pressure on the trees, too much pressure of inhabitants. The density of our country is so high. Per kilometer there are so many people living in our country. So this really, I think this is one of the areas where government should very deeply work, that controlling the population of the country, making people aware of less number of children, is a very important area where the government should actually convince people for. Because see, whenever something wrong happens with the country, even if we talk about this coronavirus, the poor people are at the brunt of every situation. They are the most vulnerable groups who have to face the consequences of any such policies. Just imagine, in a country like India, in a huge country like India, in terms of area, in terms of number of people living, the lockdown was announced just prior, just 4 hours prior to 4 hours prior notice was given to the people of the world, people of the country, that there will be lockdown starting from the midnight. So obviously, it is quite illogical. It is really not well worked upon. These policies should be well worked upon. They should realize that hardly there is 10% formal sector in our country who are able to work from home and still manage their meals of the day. The rest of the section of the country are still dependent on their daily labor. They're all laborers. If they're going out to provide their services, their labor services, they are getting income. Otherwise, they're not able to afford any food for their family. So even if they're going out, they're blatantly being beaten by the police, which is not right in all aspects. You might be seeing only one side of the coin, that these people are stupid, they are not abiding by the rules of the police, rules of the nation. But just try to think from their point of view, that all their hopes from how to get their food and all have ended here once the lockdown was announced, because no measures were actually announced when this lockdown was announced. Since but in Delhi, yes, our chief minister Shri Arvind Kejriwal, he has been announcing a lot of good measures for catering to the poor's needs, and they are working on it. But it is not all over the country where things are taking place in such a deep manner. Like, we all have around one fourth of the country is poor, and the ones who are not poor, they are still dependent on their labor only to manage their services, manage their food for the family. But since, and obviously, I don't know how many of us will be actually paying to these laborers who were all working for us. Here, us refers to everyone related to the topic. How many of us will be actually paying to these laborers who are not coming on duty because they are not allowed to come on duty? Let us talk about our house help only. Please convince your parents not to cut their pay, because those who are all not coming, because obviously they do not have any other source of income. So their only source of income was their labor services, which is really important for their survival. And since they're not able to provide these services, they are not earning any income for the family. So please talk about all this in your family. Talk about the effects of this coronavirus on the economy and everything. Obviously, the effects are way too obvious to be seen, not only in our nation but in the entire world. Also, you must have been going through maybe you must have been reading various articles available on internet regarding how countries are stopping, how they're taking measures to prevent it. So please read them be aware how nations are taking measures, what is happening where. Just read about Italy, read about Sweden. Sweden is one such country who has which has still not, closed its schools, and it is still only urging people to work from home as much as possible. It is asking its people to avoid the weekend visits to their elderly relatives, because all the adults live up separate from their parents in these countries, so they usually go and visit their relatives in these countries. So they are just taking such measures as of now, because they feel that taking these measures of locking down the entire nation have a very limited impact on the controlling of the epidemic, but a major impact on the functioning of the society. But so we cannot say anything right now. It has not recorded any deaths, I suppose, but the number of infected people is larger than India at least. So it is good that they have they are working this way. It's okay, but other countries too, on Sweden section, they have reported that it may or may not spread, but you never know, so you have to take the right steps. Sweden can, because Italy did not take the right steps well in time, so now they are facing all these problems. Every day 500 plus deaths are being reported in Italy. I think 979 being the highest number of deaths being recorded in 24 hours. So please do not take it lightly. In India also, number of cases are rising. Still, we are still not in the third phase of the disease, that is the community transmission. We are in the local transmission phase of the disease, that is, it can be spread within the area where the people are already infected. But together we all can fight on this if we all abide by all the guidelines which this COVID-19, which all these organizations has issued against COVID-19. So children, please take these guidelines very sincerely, very seriously. Do not make fun of the situation. Do not take it light. All those who have joked about this corona thing on national television, they all are infected. I don't know if you have read the cases or not. I don't want to name here the cases, but just stay safe. We all are praying for the world's peace right now. I hope we all are together praying for this lockdown thing to get over, and everybody to be healed with all the positivity and good health. So I think I just found this all important to have a word with you all regarding what is going on in the world. Please do some more reading on the topic, on any topic which might interest you. Just involve yourself into much more reading these days. This is what you can do right now, because you have time. Obviously, very just half an hour classes are taking place, so you have much time, and then even after preparing notes and after doing the revision of the chapter thoroughly for the day, you still must have time left with you. So instead of just playing it out on digitally on your mobile games and all that, just do some constructive reading, educate yourself, watch educational informative movies. Just make the best use of this time. So I found it important to have this conversation, though it is just one way. So let us begin with today's session. Do not skip the video to this point and start from this point, please. This was all that is said already was important. So okay, now let us begin the textual thing. Actually, just open page number 4.11 in your book. We are on causes of poverty. One cause of poverty we have already discussed. Okay, the second cause is low level of economic development. The Indian economy is highly underdeveloped due to relative backwardness of agricultural and industrial sectors. Yes, our industries, our agricultural sector, they are still backward. We are still using all those old methods and all that. Our infrastructure is still not so developed, and even if it is developed, it is only developed in some areas of the country. So quite uneven growth is there in our country, and we have this slow pace of development. Nearly 25% of the population is still living below the poverty line due to low level of economic development. It is basically the rich section of the country who are contributing to the economic development. Others still have a very less contribution. Okay, coming to next category, next cause is poor state of agriculture. We have already discussed this in detail. Our agriculture continues to be backward due to primitive methods of production, fragmented small land holdings. Already covered this part. Labor and land productivity continue to be low in India. There are very few land holdings where the land is irrigated through all the latest technologies. Otherwise, most of the small and marginal farmers, they still depend on rains for their harvest. So if it rains good, if the monsoon turns out to be good and their harvest is good, they are happy, they are able to manage their working capital. And if it is not, they are not able to provide enough food even to their family. Forget about providing it to the market and selling the surplus. Okay, so consequently, most of these farmers, they continue living in a state of poverty. Then the country has high illiteracy rate. Even if the people who are literate statistically, officially they are literate if they are able to read and write in just one language, but that doesn't solve the purpose. Being able to read and write in just one language does not provide you enough job opportunities in our country, or in any country for that matter. So there is so much lack of knowledge among people, so they are forced to take up low paid jobs. They work casually even if they are not getting the good jobs in their own area, so they migrate to urban areas also in search of employment and all that. And still they are not eligible to find good employment opportunities in urban areas, so they start living in the outskirts of urban areas and make themselves casually employed. So they can be doing anything. They can be mending shoes, they can be selling some things on a push cart, they can be also begging on the road sometimes. So because they do not have much employment opportunities with themselves, and most members of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are not able to participate in these emerging employment opportunities. This is what is there in the book I was reading out, as they do not have the necessary knowledge and skills to do so. Okay, next, high level of actually these things, no, they become a result as well as a cause of poverty. If you're illiterate, you're not able to get employment, so you are living in a state of poverty. And then if you're poor, you're not able to provide good education to your children, so that poverty also causes illiteracy. So this is both a cause as well as an outcome of poverty, as well as a consequence of it. Similarly, high level of unemployment, it is a cause as well as a consequence. A large section of urban poor in India, they are largely the overflow of the rural poor. Industries have not been able to absorb these people. Okay, say they have no job security, they are temporarily employed as casual laborers, the point which we were just discussing. So they are the most vulnerable in the society. Also, we discussed these casual laborers, and you can very much relate to this point in the present scenario. As they have limited skills, they have no job security, no assets, and no surplus to sustain them. All they have is their own labor skills to provide and keep earning. And these days, they're not able to provide these labor skills. So, surplus, though they do not have in the family to support in the bad times. So, that is why they are all starving these days, in all those areas where food is not reaching. So poverty is closely related to nature of employment also. If you're employed casually, you have no job security, and you have no fixed income also. Your income is not regular. One day you're earning well, the other day you are not earning at all. And it is only the formal sector who's which is privileged, to manage their work from home and still be connected with the world. Again, high level of indebtedness, it is as well as a cause as well as a it is a cause as well as a consequence of poverty. Poor people, if we talk about it as a cause, because these people are not able to earn enough, so they borrow loans, and that too at very high interest rates, because they borrow loans from informal sector, maybe from some money lenders who are engaged in this business of lending to poor people and all that, and they lend loans at quite high interest rates, sometimes at 4 to 5% per month, which approximately makes 60% per annum. And you can't realize, nobody, not even the richest category of people, can repay loans at this percentage of and at this rate of interest. So this all um, lead to a state of debt trap, because they are never able to repay the earlier loans, and they keep taking the fresh loans. And if now there is no scope of taking more fresh loans, people are not able to provide, not willing to provide them enough loans, ultimately these people have no option but they commit suicide. So much is wrong with all this thing. If we please try to be sensitized with the topic going on, just open your senses, just you should have some sensitivity towards the topic that is going on. It is not, we are not just doing it for the sake of you know just completing the syllabus. You should not be doing it for the sake of completing the syllabus. You should actually feel sensitized enough with the pain, with the wrath, the anger these people go in their vulnerable times. So also high level of indebtedness is a consequence of poverty as well, because when the people are poor, they borrow. When they are not able to repay, they again borrow, and they are caught in this debt trap. Okay, next is inequalities of income. In India, the growth is quite uneven. We have also, I think, discussed this fact, that the gap between the rich and poor is so wide that the top 1% of our population, top 1% means the richest 1% of our India's population, they have almost 50% of India's income. So from this fact only you can imagine the level of inequalities in our country. There is too much unequal distribution. You can talk about income, you can talk about assets. Here assets mainly refer to land. Too much unequal distribution of land. Only 20% of the farmers in the country might be big farmers, otherwise majority of them are only small and marginal farmers. All this have also led to persistence of poverty in India. And last is inflation. Inflation is continuous rise in prices, the general price level. The continuous rise in the general price level means inflation. In the layman's language, in Hindi, we can just call it mehengai. Okay, so inflation is mehengai. So this mehengai hits the poor people very hard, or it hits anybody very hard. The if inflation is there, the people who were just above the poverty line, okay, let us suppose 1,000 rupees was the poverty line, and the people who were earning 1,200, they were not below poverty line, but now they continue to earn these 1,200 rupees. But inflation is so much there in the market, in the economy, that now they are not able to afford 2100 kilocalories per day for themselves. So now they have actually gone below poverty line, they have become poor. So this inflation hits them very hard. Sharp rise in prices, negligible change in their money income. It has decreased the purchasing power of low income earners and resulted in their low standard of living. We can see this from here. Let us suppose our real income is nothing but our money income divided by prices. That is how many quantities we can buy. So let us suppose I'm earning 1,000 rupees, and I buy fruits and vegetables, and the price for that fruit is 100 rupees per kg. So initially I was able to buy 10 kgs for food, 10 kg of fruit for my family. Now that I'm again earning 1,000 rupees only, my money income is still the same, but the price for that fruit in the market has gone up to 125, and now I am only able to afford 8 kgs of fruit. So here, if you realize, my money income did not change, I'm still earning the same, but my purchasing power, earlier my purchasing power, like I had the power to purchase 10 kgs of fruit, but now my purchasing power is only 8 kgs of that fruit. So whenever inflation hits the economy, it is the poor people who suffer the most, because even if the ones who were able to provide themselves just enough food for the family, now they are not able to do so because of the continuous rise in prices. So this was all about the causes of poverty. Please go through the headings for all the causes of poverty. First, we did population explosion. Second, low level of economic development, poor infrastructure, uneven growth, backwardness in agricultural and industrial sectors, poor state of agriculture in our country, and what all amounts to that poor state: fragmented small land holdings, primitive methods of farming, all these. Then high illiteracy rate in our country, high levels of unemployment, indebtedness. B is silent, we pronounce it as indebtedness. Then inequalities of income, that is uneven distribution of income. And lastly, we did inflation. So you should be knowing all of them actually, because it can be as in general also that discuss the causes of poverty, or they can ask you some specific cause of poverty to explain, just as how indebtedness is a cause of poverty, or how illiteracy has become a cause of poverty. The questions can be that general also, but let me tell you, children, it is these questions only which are so obvious, but then students find it difficult to write, to express this in words. I understand you all know that illiteracy is a cause of poverty, but writing it down in good language is a thing. So for that, you should be learning the topic actually. So in India, poverty is a multi-dimensional thing. It is not just we are having less income, it is we are having no participation in the society, we are not having enough decision making power in our family, in our society, in our nation. It is not having provision of clean drinking water at our workplace. That is also poverty. If at your workplace you are not provided clean drinking water, then it amounts to poverty. It can be lack of sanitation in our surroundings, in our family. It can be, what else according to, it can be political freedom, it can be civil freedom, it can be insecurity. Like insecurity can be associated with anything. That can be job insecurity, that can be social insecurity, that you don't feel safe enough to live in that society. That also amounts to a poor nation actually. So poverty is a multi-dimensional concept, and it should not just be associated with having less income to support your basic amenities, necessities. And over these years, since we had this planning commission which was set up in 1951, and we had this first 5-year plan from 1951 to 56, removal of poverty alleviation, which is a reduction in poverty levels for the country. Poverty alleviation has always been given the topmost emphasis in our 5-year plans. Government has always put the maximum stress on removal of poverty from our country. You must have also seen in the budget, it is always announced this much crores have been allocated to the poor people, to provide them employment, to provide them insurance, to provide them continuous supply of food throughout the year. So these measures which government have taken over the years, they have been categorized. They had certain approach behind it. There was certain specific approach towards removal of poverty in different 5-year plans, and these approach we are actually going to take, which is an important topic of the chapter. What were the government approach? We are going to do 3 approaches of the government, and the question is usually asked, what was the first approach of the government towards removal of poverty, or second approach, or third approach? So all that we will take in the next session now, part 5 of the chapter. Also, before signing off, I would just like you all to tell, please do not spread any negativity on the social media. Do not make a bad use of the social media. Use it as a boon. Just spread love and positivity only. Spread peace. See you in the next session. Till then, take very good care of yourself. God bless you all.